Hey Libra, this is an astrological report for you for the month of April 2025. And the month starts out with a big, loud eclipse in your seventh house. It's the last of these eclipses in your seventh house. So you're really wrapping up karmic cycles and now preparing. If you've been in a series of relationships that haven't worked, that's the end of that cycle, and you'll probably step into and initiate a new relationship that is more in alignment with your soul's destiny and your soul's purpose. But if you are already currently married and in a committed situation and if you're in the wrong relationship, it's probably over by now. But if you're in the right relationship, then things are transforming in that relationship to a better balance. And there is a good chance that you have worked through some issues in the relationship, taking it to another level, where you co-collaborate and join forces in you bring on some kind of a project together that is your sole destined contracted project to do with this partnership. But it can also involve lawyers ending a relationship with a contracted lawyer, or a let's say you've hired a realtor and then you end that and you go with another realtor, and that really pivots your destiny because you then find the right property if that's what you're looking for. But anyway, these are relationships that involve contract agreements. Then when the sun moves into the eighth house on the 19th, you're going to be grounding this new partnership agreement and joining forces, or making it a financial, shall we say, committed situation with finances and contract. But it could, if it is your divine marriage, romantic relationship, the relationship now becomes physical and and joining resources. Then with Mercury and Venus in retrograde in your sixth house, in the house of service, you're really reevaluating what kind of path you want to take that is a calling, or that's aligned with the way that being of service is most fulfilling for you, and really the destiny. Pisces is a very dharmic energy. It's a liberating energy. So there's some sort of spiritual breakthrough through these planets in retrograde in your sixth house, where you're really reevaluating and shall we say, reflecting on what the right relationships are and the mistakes you've made in relationships, in contracted agreements. But this isn't the house of service, and this is the house of work, so it's mostly related to work type relationships. However, as soon as these planets move into the seventh house in mid-April, or Mercury is going to move into your seventh house mid-April, and Venus goes direct in mid-April, but goes into the seventh house at the end of April on the new moon, Taurus new moon, which we'll talk about in a minute. But as soon as these two planets station direct, it's go time. And as they move towards your seventh house, you're now really clear on who you want to initiate a new contract, and who you want to sort of step forward in a very committed marriage or partnership and service-oriented joint soul mission, or contracted mission. So it's like it's about service. So there's this desire to step in. There's clarity on what your soul's mission is, your dharmic mission is, how you can be of the highest service, and the people who you're going to do that with, a collaborative relationship or partnership agreement that's going to be a big part of that destiny and that soul, shall we say, um, mission. And so now it it really is go time, and it is most likely romantic with these kind of Venus Mercury energies in retrograde, because often Venus retrograde is divine, is past life relationship, and those tend to be your divine fated relationships. And then we have Mars in Cancer in your 10th house, having you go through a lot of, because Mars was in retrograde for a long time, so healing a lot of like relationships, um, I would say reflective on career. Um, I would say that there is some sort of healing involved in career choices, or shall we say, healing of the out of alignment because of a wounding, because Cancer Mars is healing because it's squaring Chiron. So it's healing some sort of wounding that would have had you make career choices from a more karmic, fear-based, but that's healing and you're becoming more Libras are becoming healed in that and more connected with their true soul's calling and less concerned and not making choices necessarily from an emotion from because Cancer wants financial security. So Libras may have been making career choices for the purpose of financial security, not the intention of doing something that they really love and see themselves doing for a long time, because we're really looking at energies where we commit to things that we can do for a long time, with Saturn in Pisces at the same time. So then Mars is going to move into your 11th house. So you feel very, very motivated and driven to really take some sort of more out in the world, because all these energies with a lot of planets have been in Pisces, where people have been feeling very introspective and hermity and secluded. But now with Mars going into your 11th house, there's an energy of let's get out, let's talk, let's mingle, let's socialize. And that's again mid-month, and really sort of taking this new idea or new project of service involving a partnership agreement out into the social arena, social networking, again, motivated because it's in the energy of Leo. So there's an inspired sort of new boost in a what do you call it? Networking, getting out there, putting your servicing the greater good, because it's also the 11th house is serving humanity. So really wanting to take this idea forward out into the greater collective, into the tribe, and really step up the level of service to really be more involved in the community, as it were. And then with Jupiter in the ninth house in Gemini, you would have been learning a lot. Jupiter Gemini in the ninth house. I'm sure you've been really investigating spirituality, higher consciousness concepts, doing a lot of reading, perhaps writing, and perhaps going to school, or traveling and learning through traveling. And then Jupiter moves into Cancer in June, mid-June, June 9th. So until then, it stays in your ninth house. And then Saturn in your sixth house in Pisces conjoins the North Node at 26 degrees, point 1 at 4:14 in the sign of Pisces, which will be a big pivot in your life where you make some big decision to step forward and to be of service, or to quit an old way of being of service and to end something. But this is a big shift in energy. Rahu the North Node is a very powerful energy. When it meets with Saturn, it is a go and stop and start energy, but there is a big commitment needed or about to be made involving the destiny that, and North Node represents our destiny on our highest path of our soul's journey. So there's some sort of real shift in our destiny where we really commit to a new path that's totally in alignment with our soul's journey. That is our destiny. And that's a big commitment where we really see a big turn in our life for the long term. Like, for instance, buying a house and having a 30-year mortgage, that kind of a thing. Or a marriage, and this is your lifelong marriage partnership. So then we're looking at Taurus, eighth house, Uranus moving in July into Gemini, which is your ninth house. But in the meantime, it's traveling through your eighth house. So Uranus has been trying to stabilize your finances and create financial liberation through perhaps investments. Um, what else? Joint resources, inheritance, but basically finances. By the time Uranus leaves your eighth house, you're feeling stable for the long term in your finances. And then we've got Neptune in your seventh, which is putting you into alignment with a divine partnership and creative co-projects with that partnerships agreements. If, for instance, you're a musician, let's say you're Pisces Sun or something, and you're Libra rising, you're gonna be coming into contact with your musician, collaborative, destined, fated musical partnerships it's very creative energy to have Neptune in your seventh there. And then Pluto in your fifth, you're transforming some big fears and you're going through a lot of transformation around friendships. And then I won't go into those planets right now because I want to get to the North Node there in your sixth, conjoining Saturn. Again, that's that same message where the destiny becomes very solid and grounded in service-oriented choice around work, and how you want to, it's your dharma, so it's of service and it is very fulfilling. That's the other important thing to add, that this new thing that you step forward to in joint contract with a divine partnership or a fated partnership is very fulfilling. It fills the cup. And then we've got the new moon in Libra in your first house. So that's a whole new beginning, a whole new identity, a whole new, shall we say, start to your a new start in relationships, and really beginning to step forward and commit into a very long-term committed relationship. And there's a sort of a new authentic version of yourself that this relationship really nurtures. And then then we have the new moon. I'm sorry, that's a full moon in Libra on the 13th. Again, all these things are happening 19th, the 16th, the 13th, 18th, 14th, 13th. The middle of the month is going to be just an absolute flip of our lives. Everybody's charts are being impacted in the middle of this month. And then that new moon in your eighth house is this relationship that was initiated during the eclipses, now grounds into a joint resources, new financial beginnings, investments, transformations happen in these eighth house new moons where you have this new shall we say, transformed faith or lack, or shall we say, overcoming fears of money, willing to take a risk, and joining resources and pooling money together with a fated relationship, or getting some kind of a loan or bank approval to fund a project, a building project, a business with the joint partnership, or to refinance a property. And for instance, if that is your, shall we say, sole contract to work on properties and develop properties, you refinance and take seconds outs to buy other properties, things like that. But basically, this new moon in your eighth house is very auspicious in the sign of Taurus, where you're going to see some really good financial, long-term, stable developments that feels stable and secure, because that's what's happening with Uranus leaving that eighth house. And this new moon happens at the end of the month. So it's before Uranus is leaving your eighth house, it's making sure you have a very strong financial source of income that will stabilize you for the next 29 years, or at least put you in that path of that way that you're going to be making money, or support to something else that stabilizes, another business opportunity or investment that stabilizes your income for the long haul. All right, I hope that was helpful. And